We'll do a roll call, Teresa.
Okay, trustee Lazio. Okay, wait just a second, Lori, I'm sorry. Hi, Michael, this is Teresa. Are you going to join us for the technology committee meeting? Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Uh-huh, you're welcome. Bye. Apologies. Michael said he'll join in just a second. So we'll resume the roll call. Trustee Lori Lemunion,
Present.
trustee Virgo,
Present.
trustee Lazio, trustee Davis. Here. We have a quorum.
Okay. Do we have a motion for the approval of the April 21st agenda?
Lori, I move. This is Joyce. I move approval of the April 21st agenda.
Right, and I will. Thank you, Ron. All right. So it's approved. Oh, we have to vote. Do we still vote if there's two of us, three of us?
Yeah, you have a quorum. Yes, we have
Okay,
a-
perfect. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we'll move forward.
Yes.
Motion carries on that
Thank you. All right, and so now we have the approval of the March 17th minutes. Brian, did you have those up? I saw
Yeah.
them go by fast. And so this was the meeting's notes from last time. May I have a motion to approve these minutes?
I make a motions, Michael.
Is there a second?
Second. This is Joyce.
Okay, then these will be approved.
one. Let's you have to call or
Oh, I'm
all
sorry.
in favor.
Sorry, we have so few. Sorry. All those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and there are no opposed, so this motion also carries.
Okay. So we're just ready to talk about the tech budget for next year. Are you ready, Lori, for that?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So we just got the kind of the budget request ready. And so the first thing I did was this is pretty much a carbon copy of what we did last year as far as presentation goes. So I did a budget comparison of, you can see on the right-hand side will be the 25-26 budget request. Our 24-25 adopted budget there, and then the previous 3 years before that. And so I kind of wanted to show here that, actually this year's budget request is lower than the previous 2 years. And then we're pretty close to, the 22-23. So we're not too far off from that. So considering inflation and the fact that we're coming off of some of the building upgrades and everything, I think we're in pretty good shape here budget wise. And we'll get into the details here more, but I just wanted to see if there was any questions about that slide. Okay. So we'll skip down to the details. So just kind of like last year, this is the core technology budget. We kind of break things up into categories over here on the left-hand side. So we have application software, contracted service and repair, data center backup and recovery, library services. This is like our catalog, our software that runs our library system for checking books in and out. Network and system-wide support. And then we always have kind of a bucket for doing new things, new laptops, new PCs, any of that kind of stuff. And you can kind of see how we compare to the adopted budget for 24-25. That should actually say projected spending, not projected budget there in the middle. Of where we're probably going to be. And like I said in the previous meeting, we had a really good year for keeping our costs in line. That's why that's quite a bit lower. And then our budget request for next year is in the right-hand side for each of those areas, budget areas. And so some of them are a little bit more, some of them are a little bit less. We kind of juggled a few things around because they made more sense in those buckets. But at the end of the day, the core budget is just a little bit more than it was last year, and most of that is due to things like Microsoft going up and our CRC software going up. That's quite a bit of the reason why we had quite a bit of inflation there. I think Microsoft went up about 30% this year, and we did everything we could to keep that in line. As you know, we went through that. They changed their service model and their licensing model and all of that kind of stuff. So it kind of really affected a lot of people this year, especially public libraries and schools.
Because they got rid of the educational license, or
Yep. It's now you can do kind of like local government nonprofit, but the discount's not nearly as heavy as it was in the previous years. So yeah, I know some library systems on how they had their things licensed, theirs went up 50, 60, even 70%. And so they had to like really dig deep to try and get that back in line. And we did quite a bit. We reduced, we went through our accounts with a fine tooth comb, all of our server licensing, Windows and Office licensing, and made sure that everything was as close to as exact as possible. And ours is probably around 30% more than last year. So yeah, it's kind of a big hit. But yeah, so that's kind of where we are on the core budget. Any questions around that?
This is Lori. I'll go first.
Yeah.
So the 602,000 for the network and systems wide support versus 338, almost double. What is that expense? Like, is it a recategorization of those expenses?
We moved primarily the Microsoft is in there now.
Okay.
Yep. It was up in library service, I think. And so we moved it into network, because that's kind of like our core support tool for running the library system is all the Microsoft 365. So yeah, and then we had a couple of other things in that we added. So we added kind of some centralized monitoring for antivirus and malware and everything in that category. So that's why that one went up quite a bit. In library service, that one's a little bit less, but we have CRC in there. That's our automation vendor for checking books in and out. They have just an annual increase whenever you're in a contract with them. They go up by like, I think 3 or 4% a year. Our BiblioCommons online catalog is in there. Our website support and hosting is in there. All of our PC time and print management is in there, and public printing is in that one. And then in application software, it has stuff that various departments use. So it has like our Adobe, all of our Adobe licensing in it, all of our accounting software is in there. All of that stuff is in that line.
So speaking of that line, you know where
Mhm.
my heart is for the last it's been over 4 years.
Mhm.
I've really wanted us to see something going on with the 3D printing labs and doing some type of 3D printing. I don't even know if it would change the budget significantly to have some type of printer labs if we used resources and volunteers to man it. But I would really like to hear that there is something in the works for some type of a 3D printing lab where kids have the opportunity to, to print things through the library and to really experience part of the STEM, that's piece of STEM. That's very exciting for kids to see when they can hold something that they've printed.
Sure. We can do, so I can skip ahead here one. So the next kind of thing that we had last year was strategic initiatives. And we had a lot of things last year. That's why the budget was quite a bit more. We had our website refresh, our self-check stations, Teams room and collaboration equipment, the boardroom. We had all those things last year. We will not have in 25, 26. This year we had a couple of things. So we have the Meraki So all of our Wi-Fi access points, a lot of those are going to be upgraded this year. They're all approaching 7 and 8 years old. And some of them, Cisco and Meraki, are going to end of life on us this year. So that's kind of a big expense, but we are trying to turn that one into E-rate. So we'll get about 80% of that back in a revenue line. So the total spending on that won't be very much at all, but we have to budget for it on the spending side. And then we have this line for emerging technology pilot projects of $10,000. And that's something that we can do some 3D printing out of, or we also, in the previous, we have the new replacements and upgrade. That's something that we could do that out of there. So we have a couple of different places we can do that. We do have some VR headsets that are coming out. We have a set of those now that we're doing a pilot on that we would like to do with the Reading Rocket to give kids access to those. But we're still working on the headsets right now to try and it's mainly internet access through the Rocket that's kind of the issue, and we're trying to figure that out right now. But we do have a set of those that'll be coming out, and we'll be doing educational, like museum visits through them and things like that. That we'll be able to do. So we have that. Go ahead.
If I could interject here. So Lori, we've given this some thought, and the idea here is that these experimentations with emerging technology would be reservable, and possibly that equipment would come out of our booking department. That way the gear could float from location to location, provided we have the staff expertise on site to do that type of programming. Much like the memory lab, I think, is one that's moved around from two locations.
It's kind of permanently at MGC at Genealogy Center right now, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but the plan there is to have that be able to move to all three counties. But I'm sorry, what's the pod where we record the oral histories?
Yeah. I can't remember the name of it now. I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Well, that's another example of how technology will float or does float from location to location. So,
That's tell me a story.
I'm sorry.
Tell me a story, pod.
Tell me a story, pod. Excuse me.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah. So, that's a modest amount, I guess, to get us up and running in year one, to see what works and what doesn't. And I think the most equitable solution is to have it float from location to location. So that's where we are.
So I just want to say, so even if you put it as part of the Reading Rocket or you did something like that, having a 3D printer, one of the things that that Union Station does so well at their Science City, that I mean, it's such a fun idea. So you have your Reading Rocket that goes from location to location, or even as the printing lab goes from location to location. One of the things, these are kids that like when my kids have been a part of this, one of the things that they love doing is we did software at home. We would sign into the site and we would pick the one that we were going to do. So every month they had like 2 or 3, I think the most they ever had was 4 projects. And so if this is the project, let's just say it's a paperclip thing. This is the project for this month. And they can go through, they click it, they design it, they get them to kind of taste the first levels of 3D printing. And then they click send to printer. And so what they do then at the Union Station lab is they print however many they get. So like if there's 100 kids that printed, they print 100, but maybe they print 200, so that whenever the kids come and other kids that are at the Science City that are there, the printer's constantly going and they have it behind a glass wall so the kids can't touch it or get hurt or anything. And so they can watch it print, but it encourages them, teaches them how to use the computer. A lot of 3D printing is done with the design work and using things that are already there. And so it could literally just be that they're picking up and watching it printing versus maybe doing as much hands-on messing with the resin or messing with the things. I just would like to see us have something that the kids can do and that they can, one of the things they did at Science City over the summer is they printed a Kansas City Chiefs logo. It wasn't really a Kansas City Chiefs, it was just an arrow. And
Oh, yeah.
it was done in red. And then they gave them thread, and they did red and yellow like braiding on the sides and made friendship type bracelets with this out of the 3D
Oh,
printing.
cool.
It was a really simple craft. The kids absolutely loved it. I bet my kids still saved theirs. I mean, they're older, but it's like those are the type of things that the kids were really excited about. They're like, yeah, I 3D printed this, but really they didn't. It was just being a part of it. So those are some of the ideas that I would like to see us do because we're such a cool library. I mean, we have so many wonderful things, and adding something as small as this, I think that we could get enough kids that are volunteering, like all of the kids at all of the high schools, specifically in the North Kansas City School District, and I do believe also in Jackson County, that they can volunteer for, like just helping the kids, passing them out, making crafts and stuff over the summer. It's a really good time to utilize that. So I don't want to get off my soapbox because I'm just so tired of waiting for us to have something like this. And I really do, think it is very important. So I'm glad that you've got something on the budget there for it. Thank you.
Yep, we do. We do. So we wanted to put something in there to get those things started. The VR headsets are what would be that I talked about a minute ago would be with the Reading Rocket. So we would figure out a different way to get these, out to the branches for specific periods of time to do things like you talked about for the 3D printer. So kind of couple separate things. But yeah, so the VR headsets are already purchased though. We did that out of a little bit of money this year. It didn't cost us that much to kickstart that. Like I said, we're still kind of working on the Wi-Fi side of that right now with the Reading Rocket. So, but yeah, okay, great idea. So I appreciate that. And then when we get through the whole budget process and we see what was all doable, then we can start to talk about how we want to do something like that. So I appreciate it, Lori. I appreciate your patience with us on that also. So I really do. So this slide just has kind of the previous strategic initiatives that we had. And then, like I said, we have the pilot project line on there and the Wi-Fi access points line on there. And then the last slide, whoops, not moving, is our voice data internet line. And you can see, again, kind of what our adopted budget was last year with the different categories that we kind of break things up into. Our projected spending for the year. Sorry, it keeps saying projected budget. And then the final column is the budget request for 25-26. So I think we did really good in getting all of that kind of in line this year as well. So.
And what's Bluebird?
So our network's kind of broken up into two different chunks because we can't get AT&T connections in some of our rural locations. So Bluebird is a company that does a lot of rural broadband and high-speed internet. And so they service 9 of our locations kind of out on the edge of our district. So like Lone Jack, Camden Point, Edgerton, places like that. But the nice thing is it's not just broadband, it's like full 1 gigabit fiber into all those locations. So it's really nice. It's really, really nice. We've been with them for 2 years now and just had great service, great service. So very happy with them. And again, the top 3 we submit to E-rate every year also. So we get about 80% of those top 3 combined, we get that back in E-rate every year. And those all show up on Jeremy's side on the revenue side, but we still have to budget for the paying the bills on this side. So, which is really nice. Yep. So that's really our budget request this year. I think overall, from last year, we're about 550,000 less than last year for our budget request. And we're even about 54,000 less than 23-24. So not bad, not bad. we're going to start having some things probably in the next few years that will be coming up, that we purchased when we started the building upgrades, like all of our desktop PCs, which were really, really good PCs. And we'll probably have a few of those coming up in the next couple years. Probably some of the AV equipment, some of the branches will be coming up again. We did a lot of really nice upgrades to the branches as far as projectors and TV screens and multimedia in the collaboration spaces and meeting rooms. So I think some of those we'll have to start looking at, because some of them will start to be 8 and 10 years old. But we've got a lot of things upgraded in the last couple of years, and I think that helps us out quite a bit. So we're in pretty good shape on everything. So yeah, that's the budget. Is there any questions about that?
Brian?
Yeah.
Brian, this is Ron.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that in core tech, you had contract services and resources. Would it be correct to assume that those are primarily a contractual arrangement by which other people would be providing the actual labor?
Yeah. So if a lot of it is as if we need to contract somebody to come out and like do special service in the computer room or do some wiring at a branch for us or something like that. That's what that line is. And we've done, because the buildings are all kind of done, we've been able to kind of reduce that line down. That's why that one's less this year than it has been the previous.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking more in terms of the actual provision of labor and services. So in the other categories, have you embedded the actual salaries?
No, this doesn't include staffing at all.
Okay,
That's
so
over on the personnel side.
Okay, I got you. Good, because it seemed terribly meager. So I just thought, okay, that explains it. Of course.
We're working for donuts here, Ron. Just whatever you can give us, that will help us out a lot. So, but no, that the staffing's all over there. This is strictly for if we need to hire somebody to come in and help us with some software issues or help us pull some wire or do something like that. That's what that comes out of.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions about that?
I do have a question just for,
Sure.
we have some great IT people, Cody being one of them. Do we have, and I don't know if it falls under our budget or a different budget, like for, like trainings, like LinkedIn learnings, I know that's available online, but also like even CompTIA certifications or any of those, are those part of our budget or a different budget?
They come out of a different budget. It's out of conference and travel. So that's where all of our educational stuff comes out of.
So even if they just took online learning, like to get their CompTIA or something, that falls under travel.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's like kind of a
perfect.
catch-all.
Okay, perfect. All right. Yeah, because I just want to make sure that we're, feeding back into our staff in a technology, because of any department, like I understand that there's, some changes with this, but the technology environment changes so regularly. It's very important to making sure that our staff is up to date with like AI, and making sure that we're understanding generational AI and how the different changes that are impacting and how they can impact our library and help us grow with like ChatGPT and some of those exciting things. So I just want to make sure that we're feeding back into our own folks. So that's really good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. Aaron, I think you were going to say something.
Actually, I was pulling up the conference and travel budget. There's a few items in there, like to answer your question, Lori, there's certification for, quite a bit. Anyway, there's a lot of technology training. I have a whole list of it here. So there's training and certification, both on the IT side and on the facility side. So yeah, just to answer your question, I think total amount there is in the neighborhood of $100,000 devoted towards training alone for the whole organization. And that might be low if I might be missing something, so don't quote me.
Well, your certifications, like having a track for making sure that, our techs are at this level and kind of setting goals for them because for their own growth as, associates with the library, we want to make sure that we're feeding back into them and pouring that knowledge back into them. It's part of just part of giving back to them as they give to us and then, expanding our whole knowledge. So I'm glad to hear that we do have a budget for that. That's the only question that I had. Michael or Jocelyn, do you guys have any questions?
That would be no. This is Michael. Looks good to me.
Hi, this is Joyce, and it looks good. I think that as usual, you guys have done a good job of both handling our current needs and planning for future needs. I did have a question as to, this is more of a funding type question, looks into the future. Do you anticipate any cut in like the E-rate or things at the state level that might affect our budget coming up?
Yeah, maybe. So a lot of the state grants have been put on pause, like you can't even sign up for them right now. So yeah, possibly, definitely. There's a couple of smaller ones. I think they're in the neighborhood of 25 to 50,000. They're just called state tech ladder grants that we normally put in for. E-rate will be the big one. And so far, everything that we've submitted to E-rate is still being processed and going through. We're still receiving our E-rate payments from that. So that's all been fine so far. But we're still crossing our fingers on that.
And the Supreme Court heard a case on E-rate, and I'm not sure, they haven't actually issued their ruling yet. So depending on the outcome of that case, we'll know. Anyway, when there's a ruling on it, we'll know more about the future of E-rate funding.
Yep.
Lori,
Thank you.
just one other thing related to generative AI. I think the next slide, I don't want to do the spoiler alert, but remember that within Brian's department is the digital innovation department. And they do a lot of work both with programming, with facing the future, but also have plans for training of staff on programming related to generative AI. But Brian could talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I think Erin Kennedy is our leader of our digital innovation department. And she gave kind of a presentation of what her department does a couple of board meetings ago. And she also started this Facing the Future series. I kind of wanted to plug that. We do have another event coming up with author Liz Pelly. And we're taking a little bit different slant this year, but it's still all about algorithms and how social media is playing on music this year, and how it's still around the media that we consume. And so we're having an event on the 13th at the auditorium at Woodney at 6 p.m. And we have Michelle Bacon from the Bridge. She'll be with us, and it'll be sort of like a conversational thing where they talk about how algorithms and streaming music platforms are kind of affecting the music that we listen to. So really looking forward to that. Great book. And so I think that's going to be a good one. And then we've got another event in the fall that we're working on, and we're trying to make it more of a panel discussion, but we're still working on that one right now.
Could you also talk a little bit about your plans for working with your tech associates out in the branches?
Yeah, so we have two kind of specialists here that kind of get a lot of the programming together, and we've done one class already on the different kind of generative models that are out there for people to use and how to best use them and what not to use them for, like putting personal information and doing all of those things. And then a handful of the branches have tech associates, and they do some of our hands-on training and helping people as they come in. We do tend to have a lot of people that just walk in and need help in the moment. And that's why we really like our tech associates. And we really like to go through kind of an achievement program or a certification program for them to get them up to speed, so they can help us with some of these more advanced topics. And so some of our classes are actually full on AI already at Green Hills and some other ones. So I think those are going to be really good classes for us coming up. And then we're also going to be working with training the staff on those same kind of topics, on what to use these for, how to do prompts, how to safeguard your personal data as you use these, because a lot of these we don't really know where the information is going. So how to be safe while you use these. And that's the general look that we did with Facing the Future last year was, how do these things work and where is your data going and how is it being used? And so we're spending our AI classes in that direction also for the staff. So.
Thanks, Brian.
Yep. Yeah, so that's all I have. I just wanted to plug the Facing the Future coming up, and I'll look at the budget. So.
Thank you.
All right.
That's very helpful. Do
Yep.
you have another slide? All right. So do we have a motion?
This is it.
I was waiting for that one. Does anybody else have any comments or questions that they have?
Just Michael here, just leave a quick comment. But man, Brian and your staff, Cody, you guys are so amazing. Really, kudos for the way you go about your business and take care of everything. It's just a joy to be a part of, just be in the meetings and just hear what's going on and the way you guys bring it across. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael. I've said this before, and I'll say it every time somebody says something like that. I have a really great staff, and if it weren't for them, I don't know where we'd be. But I'm super lucky with the staff I have, and I love working with them. And so, just very fortunate to have the group that I have. So I appreciate that, and I know they will too. So
good. I'm glad to hear that. We appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, Brian, this is Ron. I just want to share Michael's thought. I am in constant awe and amazement over everything you do. I understand nothing of tech, but I can still appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, Ron. Thank you very much. All right.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
I'll second. This is Joycelyn.
All right. Do we need to vote? Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Hi.
right, we adjourn. Brian.